Hello, good morning, everyone. Ito Sensei introduced me, so I don't need to introduce myself. I am from Japan, but now I'm living in the Berkeley, Higashiongan Temple. And I am a visiting scholar. But my secret purpose is different. My secret purpose is to improve my English skills because I don't speak English much. Until 4 years old, I lived in the Berkeley and moved to Japan with my family. So I don't speak English much. So every day I go to institute to work. But before noon, I every day go to English school class to learn English. So I'd like to talk today not about my research program, about the English school. I would like to talk about that. And I have a Ukrainian friend at English class. English class has been held in person since this, semester, August semester, yeah, in person. So I meet him almost every weekday. And the class constitutes about 25 members all around the world from China, Korea, Guatemala, Mexico, many Brazilians, and Japanese. So, but almost all is our young guys, young people. So my Ukrainian friends and me is only 2 old men. Student, yeah. So we usually work together. And sometimes I would talk about Buddhism because he has interested in Buddhism and asked me about it. His first question was how to comprehend the death in Buddhism. Once I invited him to a Sunday service of Berkeley Higashi Honganji. So he came once and attended to the service. Of course, this was the first time attending a Buddhist service. So he told me that was a very interesting experience. After the service, I and Reverend Osa again invited him to the next Sunday service, and asked him to give us a small speech about the difficult situation of Ukrainians. So he graciously accepted the invitation and gave a great speech for us, our member. I don't know what to say about his speech because he went through so much suffering and so much sorrows. I can imagine that happening to me, and I don't want to imagine it because it would be so horrible. He is Ukrainian, but before the Russian invasion, he had lived in Russia with his family. So after the invasion, he moved from Russia to Israel and Israel to United States, Berkeley. He has been in Berkeley since this May. He said many Ukrainian male who lived in Europe returned to Ukraine to protect their country. He always says that would protect, but never say they would fight or struggle. I wondered why he came to the United States and not to Ukraine. But of course, I couldn't ask him about that. His father still lives in Ukraine, he said so. So it seemed clear that he wanted to turn to Ukraine and defend his homeland with other Ukrainians. But now he lived with his family near our temple. He has a daughter. She is 14 years old. She is now in high school at Berkeley. I know it was a hard choice for him, but his daughter was probably one of the reasons that he chose the United States to move. If he had been single, he would have definitely gone to Ukraine. I think so. I assume that his wife was also Ukrainian. However, about a month after we met, I knew that his wife is actually Russian. I was surprised he didn't say about that before. Then I could understand well the reason why he did not choose his home country, Ukraine, to live. He couldn't do that. Moreover, after his speech, he said that Ukrainians living in Russia cannot choose to return to Ukraine. The Ukrainian government does not allow them to return to the home country. They cannot allow them now because the government cannot check the returner to see if they are trustworthy or not. Instead, they are expected to do whatever they can from wherever they are. He says almost all Ukrainians can understand Russian languages, and there is a lot of cultural and ethnic exchange. Historically, the two are deeply related and overlap. A symbol of this relationship is his family. What is completely different is that his family no longer has border or nationalities. There is only perfect harmony as a family. The best symbol of this is their daughter. From now, I would like to talk about Jodo Shinshu, Pure Land Buddhism. The hallmark of our Jodo Shinshu salvation is its commitment to the land. Originally, the hallmark of Buddhist salvation concerns the believer's inner self, his or her own mind. It encourages one to keep one's inner mind pure and peaceful, both in cause and effect. Such relief can therefore be described as a very personal event. However, our Jodo Shinshu is different from that. It is not matter of good or bad. It is only a matter of character. The characteristic of Jodo Shinshu is salvation as a community, not as an individual. The words land, translation of the Jodo Shinshu as pure land Buddhism is a good example of this. We have the word land in the name of our teaching. In general Buddhism, the following words are the most famous teachings from Dhammapada. Cease all evil deeds, do all good things. Make your mind pure. This is a teaching common to all Buddhas. Cease all evil deeds. Do all good things. Make your mind pure. This verse is very old and important, and it's the most standard teaching of Buddhism. Cease all evil deeds and do all good things, and to make your mind pure is the way to the enlightenment. I like this teaching very much. The interesting part of this teaching for me is the first half, where the Buddha preached the behavior and practice of disciples. The ultimate goal is to purify our minds, one's minds. But there are two specific ways to achieve this. One is to stop doing evil, and the other is to do good deeds. We no longer have a pure heart, but we can gradually attain this heart step by step by acting these two teachings. Since we don't have a pure heart, it is not easy for us to do good things. But we can do something good to obtain a pure heart. Through this teaching, we can try to do good things in spite of our bad heart. This is the most famous and orthodox teaching of Buddhism. However, we Jodo Shinshu emphasize the salvation of the land, pure land, not of the individual. We preach that salvation is not about purifying the mind of an individual, but about purifying the land. This land is, in other words, salvation as a community. We sometimes ask ourselves, what is the Pure Land? How can I be born in the Pure Land? However, we must know that these thoughts are actually quite different from Amida's vow. Amida's vow is to save all human beings and establish a land of purify, not to save us as individuals. Why does Amida Buddha make such a vow? Why does he vow concern land rather than individual? This is because there is no true salvation in the purity established in the heart of an individual. There is no true salvation without the salvation of others. Our true salvation always depends on the salvation of others. You probably think you are not so good person. I guess you think you are a bad person who usually only think about your own happiness. We are actually. I don't think it's much different from the truth, especially about me. We can never be free from our own self-centered mind. But at the same time, we know for ourselves that if our parents are unhappy, we cannot be happy either. If our brother or sister is unhappy, we worry about that. Especially if my children seems depressed, I get depressed too. We cannot be happy in spite of our family's unhappiness. We are not good people, but we also have that kind of compassion. It is not just for our families. We sometimes have felt compassion when we have seen innocent children crying in fear and old people weeping in sorrow in some media. In another sutra, Yuima Kyo, Vaimalkirti Sutra, the main character speaks of the Buddha's compassion like this. Because sentient beings are sick, the Buddha is also sick. For example, suppose a person has a child. When the child becomes ill, the parents also become ill. And when the child's illness is healed, the parents are also healed. We are not Buddhas, so we don't care if someone we don't know gets sick. We feel nothing when someone we have nothing to do with is unhappy. And sometimes we even feel happy when people we dislike are unhappy. If you find your wife or your husband, unhappiness secretly makes you feel very happy. I think you should divorce immediately. Compared to Buddha, we are selfish and inferior. However, we are not the kind of beings who can be happy independently of the unhappiness of others, as symbolized by our compassion for our families. It is not possible that I am the only one in my family who is happy. It is impossible for us to be happy while the rest of our family is suffering. My happiness comes with the happiness of my family. We can know that our true happiness and salvation is not only about ourselves, but also about the happiness of others. The vow of Amida Buddha to purify the land taught us this fact. In the larger sutra, the Pure Land is preached in several specific contents by Buddha. He said, the Pure Land is the world where is no struggle fight each other and all habitants can write their own characteristic freely. Moreover, Pure Land is a world where you can understand others' mind, where you can understand your mind. Well, finally, I would like to introduce one important content of the Pure Land, which wished by Amida Buddha. This is the fourth vow. If when I Bodhisattva attain Buddhahood, all sentient beings in my land will no longer be different, although they come from different origins and essences. If this is not realized, I will not attain supreme enlightenment. If when I attain Buddhahood, all sentient beings in my land will no longer be different, although they come from different origins and essences. If this is not realized, I will not attain supreme enlightenment. It is said that the Pure Land is a world in which there is no discrimination of any kind, even if each of us come from a different background. The Pure Land is a world in which a peaceful relationship that transcends all values is realized. Even if the origin and nature of the inhabitants are different, there is no distinction anymore. It is Buddha's land. This is the same wish of my Ukrainian and Russian couple. I try to change the subject. If when I attain real happiness, all sentient being in my land will no longer be different, although they come from different origins and essences. If this is not realized, I will not attain supreme happiness. For us, sometimes it is important to identify what is different. Identification can be national, racial, linguistic, historical, and many other things. They sometimes work well, but at the same time, they can turn a multicultural society into a world of ugly discrimination and even war. That is why the Buddha wished for a pure land, where we can be united as we are identified. The Pure Land is a world where those who are different from each other can transcend discrimination and everyone can live purely with compassion. It may shoot like a dream. John Lennon said, "You may say I'm a dreamer, but I don't want to think so. My friend, Ukrainian and Russian families tell me that it is not just a dream. They express well this world of harmony. And it is not a dream. It is a vow of the Buddha." I would like to end today's talk by wishing with you all that the world where people from different backgrounds can live in mutual respect will be realized as soon as possible. Let us listen carefully to the Buddha's teaching that true happiness can only be realized when the Pure Land is realized. This is a vow of the Buddha, and moreover, it is a deep aspiration that we human beings hold in the depths of our hearts. Thank you.